Hello, and welcome to The Pool is Abstract, where we're currently rewatching and dissecting the revived series of Doctor Who episode by episode. My name is Connor, and with me is...
Charlotte.
I like how you always say your name like you're celebrating.
Oh.
Charlotte!
Charlotte!
Today, Charlotte, we're discussing your least favourite story of Series 1?
No.
No?
No.
There's one you like less than this?
Yes.
Oh, well.
I'm not a fan.
No, you're not a fan of this, are you?
No.
It took like 3 days of persuading to get you to actually watch it.
Yeah.
So we're watching, we have already watched Series 1, Episodes 4 and 5. They are Aliens of London and World War 3. So I think what we're going to do is try and cover like two-parters in one episode of the podcast. I don't really see the point in sort of just delaying stuff like this. No. Do you want to talk about this for 2 weeks in a row?
No.
I think the only exceptions for this, this is going to be inconsistent.
There's cramming a lot of information into one episode, so you would need longer, unless you would prefer to have a really long episode.
No, I was just thinking of in general, I'd like to cover two-parters in like one episode of the podcast. So episodes like this, say Daleks in Manhattan and Evolution of the Daleks will still be one episode. Army of Ghosts and Doomsday will be one episode. There are certain ones though where I would split them up. So I know a lot of people consider the end of Series 3 to be like a three-parter. Personally, I think of Utopia as like a separate thing, and then Sound of Drums and Last of the Time Lords to be a two-parter.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people consider it a three-parter, but there will be cases like that where I would split them up. I would split Face the Raven, Heaven Sent, and Hellbent into 3 separate episodes. I'm not going to cover that as a trilogy in one podcast episode because, good God. But about Aliens of London and World War 3. It aired back in 2005 on April 16th and April 23rd, respectively. Written once again by Series 1 showrunner Russell T. Davis. And I guess is the face you're making. I guess that this is notable for being the first two-part story of the revival.
Yeah, it is.
So that's kind of noteworthy. But other than that, I don't really have any preamble. Do you?
Well, I mean, we'll probably get into this further down the line, but obviously this is a new monster of the week in this episode. This is not, like, as far as I'm aware, something that they'd done before. Like, this was their first outing.
Yeah.
So that's about it, really.
Yeah. But again, that would have been the case for the last 2 episodes as well. Cassandra and the Gelthro.
I know, but they don't come back.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, so this is the first outing for a new monster that will come back eventually.
Will return, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Whether it's in Doctor Who or in other TVs, other spin-offs.
You like them more in Sarah Jane, don't you?
Yeah.
We'll get into this.
Yeah, we will.
Yeah, you're happy to just kind of jump straight into the...
Let's do it.
Into the episode. So, the episode begins, obviously the TARDIS lands back in the Powell estate at Rose's home. They kind of hop out of the TARDIS. Rose is kind of like impressed that, they've done everything they have. And she's like, oh my God, I'm back home. And how long has it been? And the doctor says it's been like 12 hours.
She should know by now that she should know.
Yeah, because the last episode he was, 9 years out?
9 years out. I mean, to be quite... No, he wasn't. I was going to say he was close. No, 12 months. Well, closest he's been so far.
Yeah. So they think it's been 12 hours. So Rose goes back home just to see her mum. She said, I'll just tell my mum I'd been at Shireen's.
Yeah.
And the doctor's just kind of vibing outside. And he sees a missing girl poster on a wall or a lamppost. And back in the flat, Rose obviously goes in to see her mum. And when Jackie sees Rose, she kind of like... Does she drop like a cup of tea?
Yeah, she's holding like... Yeah, I think it's a cup of tea.
She's got
or
a cup
drink.
of tea and she drops it. Yeah. And the cup like smashes or something.
Yeah.
She's shocked. And this is when the doctor busts in and he realizes the missing girl poster was Rose. And he says, it's not been 12 hours. It's been 12 months.
Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So this is the cold open, really. This is when we get the titles. So obviously Jackie's a bit concerned because her daughter's been missing. Because obviously once Jackie drops the cup of tea, the camera kind of like pans around the room and you can see there's just like stacks and stacks of the missing posters. So Rose has been missing for like a year and Jackie's clearly been hoarding up these posters and just putting them around.
Oh, which is so sad to think of what poor Jackie has been through.
She's been through a lot.
She has.
And she will continue to.
Yes.
So after the opening titles, once the episode kind of opens for real, first shot we have, I think, is the kid spray painting Bad Wolf.
Again, another reference to Bad Wolf.
Yeah, spray painting that.
Is this the third now?
Sorry. Yes. You had the Moxa Balhoun talking about the Bad Wolf scenario. We had Gwyneth last episode talking about the big bad wolf. And yeah, we got the spray painting. This is the most
on the nose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Gwyneth saying it was more on the nose than when the Moxa Balhoun said it, but I think this is probably the one in the series that's the most in your face. At least until the Doctor realizes that it's happening.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we cut back to the flat. Rose and Jackie are sat down. The Doctor's standing up. And there's a police officer in the house, clearly been called in to find out what the hell's been going on. Where's Rose been? So obviously Rose... What I like about this, and this goes across all of Russell's era, and I know I've said it a couple times already, but this, I think, is Russell writing human drama well. Regardless of how you feel about the Slitheen and this story as a whole, I think this story is a good encapsulation of just typical human drama. Because put yourself in Rose's shoes, right? You come back, you can't really tell your mum the truth.
No.
How do you explain your absence? Do you know what I mean? She says like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I've been traveling. I meant to call, but I forgot." And Jackie says, "What? You forgot for a year?"
Yeah.
And it's like you can't really explain it, can you?
No. And do you know? I'm not sure of her name, but the woman who plays Jackie Tyler, she's such a good actress, and I wish we had more time with her. There's other episodes later on in the line. Do you mean we get more of her, and I think she just plays everything she does really well. Like the scene with her and Rose, I'm not sure whether this is straight after or a little bit further down the line, when she says, what happened to you that was so bad that you can't tell me? And the way she's saying it is like gut-wrenching. She's obviously thinking the worst has happened to her and that she's traumatized by it and she can't say anything.
Yeah.
And
I think this is the point
God.
where I would have to talk to the Doctor and say, please let me tell her.
Yeah.
I need to tell her the truth because I cannot think of any lie that would justify this.
Well, this is the thing. I don't think, as far as I'm aware, I don't think the Doctor said that she couldn't tell her.
No.
I think she's just...
Yeah, because doesn't Rose say something like, I can't tell her because if I do, like, she'll just, like, lose the plot or something?
Yeah, well, and she said, she'd never believe me anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say, just come outside, Doc, just
get in.
Just do the thing.
Yeah, do the thing.
Just poke him with a stick. Do it.
Yeah.
So this is when the Doctor kind of steps in because you can tell that this is obviously a really uncomfortable situation. He says that, this is my fault. I kind of employed Rose as my companion. Which, to be fair, I guess...
Interesting choice of words.
I don't know how else you can say it. It sounds better than just, like, I just asked her if she wanted to go trap. I don't know how else you could phrase it. I think...
Either way, it's not going to sound great, is it?
Yeah, because the police officer asks, is this relationship sexual in nature? And obviously they're both like, but no. But Jackie says, he comes in here, sauntering all over the place, Mr. Confident, calls himself a doctor. She asks if he's really a doctor or if he's just making up stories to kind of pull in young women. He says, I am a doctor. She says, oh yeah, stitch this, mate, and just slaps him in the face. Noteworthy. First time he gets slapped by... I don't know. I haven't watched all of Classic Who, but to my knowledge, that's the first time the Doctor gets slapped. It won't be the last.
From somebody's mum.
Yeah.
Well, he does say it's the first time he's been slapped by somebody's mum.
But I think in the show it's the first time he's been slapped, period. I might be wrong. Again, I've not seen all of Classic Who, but I can't imagine, Tom Baker getting slapped in the face.
I mean, what about Paul McGann? I could imagine...
I've not seen the TV movie.
Neither have I, but I can imagine, that being a high drama, possibly.
It's quite Americanized, maybe.
Maybe
that's something that... I don't know. But then we essentially cut to Rose and the Doctor talking on the roof, and they're just kind of talking about this whole thing.
Yeah.
This is when Rose says, I can't tell her. The Doctor, like he says, 900 years of phone box travel. I've never been slapped by anyone's mother.
She's like, oh, my mum was right. That is an age gap.
Yeah. Yeah. He says, it hurt. And she says, what'd she say, Charlotte?
So gay.
Thing is, I know the 2000s was
a different
I know it was the
place.
point where just gay was kind of an insult or something. It was funny to call someone gay, but I don't get the joke.
No.
I don't get the is it because he didn't just shake it off? I don't.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Again, not that it's relevant at all, particularly, but to me, I think it's strange. Obviously, Russell T Davies being a famous member of the LGBTQ community, I think it's strange that he wrote that dialogue. A bit. Again, maybe it was just a product.
Is
of its
that
time.
how he thinks straight people talk?
I mean, maybe.
I don't know.
Definitely back then, yeah.
But this is when Rose is kind of reflecting on everything, and she says, all that stuff that's out there, all the planets and aliens and stuff, and I'm the only one on Earth that knows about it.
Perfect timing.
Cut to
big old ship.
Yeah, and a ship flies past overhead, crashes into Big Ben and lands in the Thames.
Yeah.
Go on, Charles, give us the trivia.
Well, I'm not. No, you're the nerd.
I'm going to say it quick because I feel like this is the Viggo Mortensen broke his toe thing. But
Yeah.
When the Slitheen ship crashes into Big Ben, the shot has been flipped. Because
And every time we watch this episode, Connor just gives me a look.
Yeah.
Just to be like...
Basically, the trajectory of the ship crashing didn't match where it landed in the Thames. So to make it work, they had to flip the shot. But it's obvious because when you see the wing of the ship crash into Big Ben, the clock faces backwards.
Yeah.
So that's just something that once you know it, you just don't unsee it. And it's kind of...
Yeah, once you have a partner who knows it, they can't not tell you.
Did you know when he kicked the helmet?
Did you know?
Yeah. So, yeah, great timing there. So the Doctor and Rose go to try and see the crash, but they're stopped by traffic.
The Doctor makes a good point, because Rose is like, why can't we just go over there in the TARDIS? Or...
Yeah.
And he's like...
Because what did he say? He says something like, big alien ship just crashed. I don't want to add another one into the mix.
Yeah.
TARDIS stays where it is. So Rose says, what did she say? She says, we can just do what everyone else does. Go home, watch it on TV.
Yeah.
The face the Doctor makes is just I can't tell if he's disappointed or if he's genuinely, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah. Probably a bit of both.
Yeah. But this is when we cut to them, well, the Doctor mainly, trying to watch the news. He's wrestling a kid to try and get the TV remote because he keeps switching to blue pizza.
Yeah, I love the blue pizza, and this is how to make your own UFO cake.
Yeah.
It's such a Russell-ism. Do you know what I mean?
Such a what?
Russell-ism.
Russellism.
That's what I'm calling it now.
Russellism.
A Russellism. To put blue pizza It's like Trinity Wells is in this.
Is this? Yeah, this is the first appearance of Trinity Wells, right?
Yeah, it is. Again, another Russellism.
An icon of the BBC. I was so happy when she came back for the 60th specials.
I know you were.
You didn't even see that, did you? You didn't watch the giggle.
No, I didn't.
Oh, you got that to look forward to.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, the chief of defense basically arrives at the hospital where the alien was taken. So obviously the ship's crash landed. They found a body. That's what was reported on the news. And it's been taken to the nearby hospital, which is Albion Hospital, worth noting, because that will come back at some point. And yeah, the chief of defense enters the hospital. This is when we find out that the Prime Minister's missing. This is also where we're introduced to Dr. Sato, played by, and I'm going to butcher this, I said this last time, last episode, but is it Naoko Mori? I think is how you pronounce it. Another recurring actress. She goes on to play Tosh in Torchwood, which I'm just going to spoil it just because it's not really that important. But we find out that Tosh as a character literally is this doctor in this episode. I think you just assume it's another one of those instances where the BBC just reuse an actor, but there's like a throwaway line towards the end of series 2 of Torchwood where Tosh says to Owen something like, "I remember when you called in sick because you were hungover and I had to cover for you in the hospital." Yeah. Which I think is just a nice little reference to tie it all together.
That's one thing I do like about this. I haven't seen all of Torchwood, but I do like the fact that, do you mean we're, 4 episodes in now?
Yeah.
And we've met 2, I know technically she's not, but we've met 2 of the actors that will go on to Torchwood, and in the next couple of episodes we're about to meet another one.
Technically, again, not. I'm keep thinking like, I don't want to spoil it. I don't think anyone listening to this has not seen the show, but I'm just gonna say technically, because of the end of the world, the face of Bo is there.
Yeah, true.
So have we met 3 Torchwood people?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yeah, cool. And even though you always think of Torchwood being a series 2 thing, because there's that it's constantly like reference and name dropped until the reveal. But series 1, and I'll mention it again when we get there, but series 1 technically has the first reference to Torchwood as well. But that's later on in the series. But yeah, Dr. Sato, Tosh, whatever we want to call her, she's performing an autopsy on the alien.
We don't know what it is at this point.
We don't know what it is. We see the what's his name? The chief of defense. His reaction to it. He says something like, "Good God! Like, what is that?" He said, "What did you say? Is that real?"
Yeah. He asks if it's like a prank or like a hoax. Yeah.
Yeah. What she says something like it's like wired up like something I've never seen before.
Yeah. She says she did an X-ray on its brain, and it's wired up differently.
Yeah.
Which.
But this is when we cut to a group of important people gathering at 10 Downing Street. I think, what's his name? You know the news better than I do. Who's the
Andrew Marr?
Andrew Marr, that's it.
Is it Andrew Marr?
Something.
Yeah,
Marr.
Andrew Marr. It's Andrew something. So
it's definitely Marr. I thought Johnny Marr, but I have a feeling that might be a musician.
No, it's Andrew Marr.
Yeah, so he's reporting on this, and he notes that a car's just pulled up, and who gets out? It's Joseph Green, and I had to write this down because this is just hilarious to me. Joseph Green is the chairman of a parliamentary committee for the monitoring of sugar standards in exported confectionery.
I love those. I just love the jobs they give the people going into number 10 throughout the 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we see
Joseph Green, who is, once again, let me remind you, chairman of a parliamentary committee for the monitoring of sugar standards in exported confectionery. He's informed by the junior secretary that he's now the acting prime minister. Now,
I mean, just a little intercept here.
Yeah.
If you haven't noticed, after this episode, you will really understand Russell's opinion on on
Politics.
British politics and what he thinks of British politicians.
Yeah.
There's no. I don't think.
Do you
there's
think he
anything
thinks that a lot of the prime ministers are unqualified for the job? Bear in mind, this is before Brexit and Boris and Theresa May and
Well, it's before. It's before
Liz Truss.
It's before the musical chairs of British prime ministers.
Yeah, that was a bad time, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was.
I say that as if it was like, a long time ago.
Well, funny enough, this is brought up later on in the episode, which really, going back when this aired, it wouldn't have been that much of a thing, but the doctor asks Rose who the current prime minister is, and she said, "I don't know. I've been away for a year." Now, going back then, really, it was you stay for your 4-year term, and then you leave. So really, it should be the same prime minister that it was when she left.
I don't know, because it was 2000. Obviously, show set in 2005, but because it skipped it's 2006, we would have had a new PM then.
That is true, yeah. But then I don't know whether it's following.
Because it would. Well, I know who that would have been. I'll get there later. So, yeah, obviously Russell making his opinion relatively apparent. So yeah, Joseph Green is now the acting prime minister because the prime minister's missing. This is when we're introduced to fan favourite Harriet Jones, played by Penelope Wilton.
I mean, if that's what she was going for, it's like, what's her name from in Harry Potter? Melda Staunton?
Professor Umbridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just fucking obnoxious.
Oh, Harriet Jones is not obnoxious. No.
If she was going for insufferable, she nailed it. She nailed it. Oh my God.
Oh, I love her so much.
I know you do. And I just, oh God.
She wants to meet with the Prime Minister.
She just wants to talk to him about cottage
hospitals. Yeah.
Oh God, yeah.
But of course, Harriet Jones is the MP for Flardale North. You'll just in case you forget, she will remind you.
Do not do a drinking competition every time she says that. You will die.
Yes, I know who you are.
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
Yes.
But yeah.
So at this point, Joseph Green meets with Margaret Blaine from MI5 and is given emergency protocols for what to do in the event of alien incursion, I guess. He seems a bit bumbling. Is that the right word? Like, he seems very unqualified for the role.
And again, in a time where you're a bit like, he's all of a sudden been made leader of a country, and it's, aliens have crash landed. He seriously doesn't seem fazed by any of it.
No. So then he goes into the room with Margaret Blaine and Oliver something, and they just do this weird little chuckle. And
they fart. A lot.
Yeah, right. So let's talk about this, right?
It's
sorry.
It's a cool premise with the fact that, obviously gas exchange from being compressed.
Yes.
But my God.
I like the idea. I would be okay with it if there were jokes. It's too much though.
Oh, it's
too frequently. I reckon in the entire two-parter there should be no more than 5 farts.
I think that's too much. Again, this is something we were kind of speaking a little about.
You need it, obviously, you need it to happen. So it's got to happen in front of Harriet, because that comes into play later. It's got to happen when the doctor's there, so he can explain it's the gas exchange thing, and it kind of needs to happen at least once before they reveal who they are to give you a clue, because it happens later with the police officer, doesn't it? And he farts, and that's kind of the audience's clue of, oh no, he's one of them. So I like the idea that it's this thing, this very human thing that is done, and that's the immediate tip-off that it's not a human being.
Yeah.
But it's, again, if there was maybe one that was done for comedic effect, but it's way too much.
It's way too much.
Especially, I think is it this scene in particular? No, it's not.
It's later.
No, it's when the...
yeah, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I was saying, that one thing that I find, again, I watched Sarah Jane more than I watched Doctor Who, but I found that the Slitheen were done a lot better in that. You didn't have as much of like that, you know, that like giggling and chuckling and kind of silliness.
Yeah, they're a
and
bit less campy, even though obviously the show is more child friendly in general, and it is of a lighter tone.
I think they're not scary in Sarah Jane than they are. Yeah, they're not scary in this episode, but in Sarah Jane, like as a child, I was intimidated by them.
It's hard for me to say because obviously I didn't watch Sarah Jane as a kid. I don't agree. I don't think they're scary in Sarah Jane,
but compared to this, they are.
I don't know. I'm like, because again, I'm not scared of them now as an adult. Again, the farting is silly, but I think the idea of what they are conceptually is quite scary in this. And the fact that they managed to worm their way into power to be quite scary conceptually. But I think this is an episode that needs to decide what it wants to be. Does it either want to be a scathing critique of politics and this kind of like scary thing, or does it want to be a silly little thing with fart jokes? And the fact that it tries to do both,
it doesn't quite. It doesn't
make either of them don't really work.
Yeah.
But this is when the Doctor walks out of Rose's flat. He says it's getting a bit too human in there for me, because you said this to me earlier, didn't you? You said every time we cut back to the flat, there's just more and more people in there, more of like Jackie's friends.
Yeah, it starts off with going in and it's like there's like one female friend there, and then it cuts to, and then there's like 2 or 3 other people, then there's a child, then the flat is filled with people.
Yeah.
And the Doctor's just fighting the remote.
You'd think the fact that Rose is back after being missing for a year would be a big talking point, but it's not, because just before the Doctor leaves, Jackie says something like, "Oh, you'll never guess who asked me out."
Yeah.
They've just gone to like just the most like derivative conversation.
Again, well, it's coming up to this moment now, but I'll just say, well, one of the signs as the Doctor leaves, as we're getting on to now, says L-O-E-T. It's an E-L-L-O-E-T.
You did like that, didn't you? You just pointed and laughed at it.
That's it. It's not even hello or welcome. It's L-O. L-O-E-T.
Yeah. So because the Doctor leaves the flat, Rose thinks he's gonna like wander off.
Yeah, which she's right.
Yeah. But the Doctor tries to pacify her. He says he's not going to interfere, but he's just going to go for a wander. So he gives her a TARDIS key. He says, "About time you had one." That seems enough for her.
Yeah, I made a comment about this earlier, which Connor wasn't that happy about. But I said, I don't know. Maybe it's her naivety, and maybe it's her thing to kind of just go with what the Doctor says. But she's like, how do I know you're not going to leave me? How do I know, promise me that you're not? And he doesn't say anything. He just says, "Here's a key." Just shuts it. About the time you had a key. And she's like, "Oh, thanks." And that's it. He doesn't promise that he won't leave.
I guess she doesn't know he has multiple copies. I don't know.
But he said by the time it's about time you had one. Not it.
Pass.
Yeah. I'm just saying, you could from that moment, I mean, you could tell anyway he was going to, because it's the Doctor. Of course he's not going to not intervene. But for that point, if I was Rose, I would have been like,
I think so. He
didn't answer my question.
He's suspicious, but he does a good job of hiding it in general, I think, because he says to Rose, the crash was genuine. It gave signs of engine failure, the angle of descent. He says, today's the day that humanity learns about aliens for real. This is a momentous occasion. Go inside with everyone else and enjoy history, essentially.
Yeah.
And you believe him, I think. It's then, obviously, once he gives Rose the key and she goes back in the flat, that you follow him down. and he
Gets
just
in.
he walks towards the TARDIS, and we cut to Mickey Smith.
Who's drying his shoes outside.
He's drying his shoes outside, and he looks over the balcony and he sees the Doctor walking towards the TARDIS. He runs down to try and
Run in
to him. I don't know.
Well, I'm assuming obviously we find out later that obviously Rose went missing for him too. So he's probably wondering where she is.
Yeah, so he's obviously, because last time he saw Rose before she disappeared a year ago was with this man.
Yeah.
So Mickey essentially books it towards the TARDIS, going, Doctor! The TARDIS dematerializes as the Doctor flies away, and Mickey just eats doo-doo. I'm trying to keep this clean.
I've already sworn.
Have you?
Yeah. I used an F-bomb.
Oh, did you? Oh,
yeah.
Well, I didn't notice. I'm not going to edit it out.
Sorry.
Stay there. Well.
Well, you should have informed me. About...
So Mickey smashes into like a roller shutter, or
Yeah.
It's not a wall, is it? It's not like a brick wall.
No, it's like a tin wall.
Yeah, it's like a roller shutter door, I think.
I think so,
For like a nearby shop or something. And he basically smashes into it, falls back, and he almost folds in half, doesn't he? His legs kind of like come back over his head.
It's the most like cartoonish way of like falling, exaggerated way of his legs come over his head, and he's like, oh.
Yeah. So this is when we cut back to Downing Street. Harriet Jones wants to go in and talk to the PM. She's told no yet again. This is when Green and Blaine and that lot come out of the...
Well, no. Before that, I think she's speaking to the guy who's like...
Yeah, because this is when she makes him a coffee, right?
Yeah, she makes him a coffee, and he's like, you still can't go in.
He's like, you're seeing through my cunning plan.
And then I don't know at what point, but I'd like to bring this up because I've noted it in my notes. And she says that, you know, she doesn't get the chance to meet the Prime Minister often. Mm-hmm. It says, I'm hardly one of the babes.
I'm just a faithful backbencher.
Yeah. One of the babes.
You're a babe, Harriet.
Stop simping over Harriet.
How old is Penelope Wilton now, do you think?
I don't know. I want to know how old she was there as well.
I'm going to find out.
But yeah, it's like, you got to feel for her though, because can you imagine if you'd fought for something like that? And obviously she reveals she has a plan to fix the health system in her local constituency. Imagine trying all that time to get a meeting with the Prime Minister, and you finally do, and then aliens crash into the Thames.
Penelope Wilton was born in 1946, making her 78 years old today. During this episode, she was 59.
Aww.
She don't look that old.
She don't. She looks good for 59.
For, on 60's door.
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought she was that old.
Yeah. So yeah, she knows she's not one of the babes.
Yeah, she's one of the...
But this is when...
the Prime Minister... Prime Minister.
The acting Prime Minister steps out. Harriet tries to give him the spiel about cottage hospitals.
Yeah.
What does he say? For God's sake, get some perspective, woman. I'm busy.
Which, to be fair...
I mean, yeah, fair enough.
Completely valid.
Fair enough.
Completely valid.
Yeah. So this is when we see the TARDIS materialise inside of a cupboard, and the Doctor pops out. He's essentially he's gone to the hospital. He's in a storage cupboard and he's locked in.
A little note before that.
Yeah.
So the Prime Minister and his cronies walk away, and Harriet goes into.
Oh yes, she does. Yes, yeah, you're right.
And there's obviously the plan, the big red suitcase of
the emergency protocols.
Protocols. And she well, first of all decides to try and put her agenda in there.
Yeah, she does.
And then decides to read a thing that says highly classified. She doesn't give a shit.
It's really good that never came out before she was Prime Minister.
Yeah. Harriet
Jones cancelled.
Cancel
culture, another victim.
Yeah, she just didn't care. She just, if anyone caught her, she'd be screwed. I mean, to be fair, they have other things on their
Would
priority.
would that be like prison?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Reading.
I don't think she'd last in prison.
You could You could arguably go down for spying on that.
You can imagine in prison, Harriet Jones, MP for Floridale North.
Yeah, ex-MP for Floridale North.
Yes, I know who you are. Yeah.
Do you know what? She might turn the prison systems around. Maybe that's what they need. Harriet Jones.
Cottage prisons?
Cottage prisons. No. She brings a new agenda in.
Yeah. So yeah, the TARDIS lands in the hospital cupboard. The Doctor tries to sonic the door to get out. He shushes the Sonic.
Oh, I love that.
He goes, and then he kind of just looks at Sonic and goes, shh. which I found funny.
That would give me a good chuckle, I'm not going to lie.
Do you know something I've noticed rewatching Series 1? Is how the Sonic's blue light is very strong. Because I feel like even in Tennant's era onwards, obviously when he uses it, the blue light goes on. But it's just like a little LED at the end of the screwdriver. In Eccleston's era, it's like when he's
like a torch.
when he's in the dark room and he uses it, it casts this like really bright blue light that kind of just takes over everything. But I swear it isn't there later on.
See, I was going to say that I find from the next, as he opens this door after Sonic in it, I find that the Doctor is very happy.
Yeah.
In most situations that we've seen him in, he's either extremely annoyed and angry.
He won't be next episode.
No. He's either extremely annoyed and angry, or he's just like the biggest grin on your face all the time.
It's because
I love it.
He's in his element, isn't he, when there's danger, I think.
Yeah, so he opens the door to a group of guys who are basically a unit.
Yeah, a group of soldiers. As soon as they see him, they all pull out just various machine guns on him.
And he's just there with his hands above his head, just like, hello.
Yeah, he just big like ear to ear grin.
Yeah, he just looks so happy.
Yeah.
And then another note I've made is just the fact that they hear a noise down the corridor.
It's Dr. Sato screams.
Yeah, because she's heard banging on one of the, what would you call them, mortuary doors?
Yeah. It's like those like freezer drawers with like a gurney built in.
Yeah. So you hear a scream down the hall, and then the Doctor runs towards the scream and says, "Come on, lads," or something like that. And they just follow him.
He calls the formation. So he knows that they're unit. So what does he say? He says like defense something delta. Something like that. So it's like a phrase. Obviously, he used to work for UNIT back in the day. So it's like a phrase that just calls them to arms so they know he's in the know, basically.
As far as I'm aware, though, no, I mean, obviously, we know it's UNIT from history, and knowing the show well, but they never mention at any point that they are UNIT. It's never mentioned that, obviously, the Red Berets are UNIT. They say that
not with the Red Berry specifically. They do mention UNIT in the episode.
They do later on. They say about the people who are in the conference room later, about them being UNIT, and about the people that are brought in that are the specialists. But other than that, it's not mentioned that these men are UNIT, but they are.
I guess he recognises.
Well, that's the thing. But it's just interesting that it's not brought up at any point. I know it's not really. It doesn't matter either way. Because people would know at this point. Well, no, people would know it's UNIT, but...
I guess fans of the classic series would, and if you don't know who UNIT are, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it doesn't make
because it gets explained later anyway.
It does, yeah.
But
yeah.
Yeah. So, after they hear the scream, he calls the formation, and they run into the autopsy room. This is when Dr. Sato says that what we once thought was the dead alien is actually alive, and it ran off. So this is when the Doctor kind of like peeks around the nearby table, and he sees the little pig boy. Oh, he's really cute, isn't he?
He's so cute. Do you have? Because Connor collects the what are they called? Eaglewood.
Eagle moss.
Or eagle moss, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have a little piggy?
I don't think so.
I know they sell the piggy. I've seen him.
Do they? They sell the pig?
Yeah, they sell the piggy.
I have a Slitheen.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought you had the
Charles just looking around the room looking for a pig.
I'm just looking on Connor's shelves for the little piggy. Interesting.
Look, it's Stavros.
Yeah. This is going to mean nothing to anybody listening to this. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so after the Doctor sees the little pig, he essentially... the little pig starts running away, scared. Obviously, the Doctor runs after him. He turns a corner, and one of the nearby unit soldiers, essentially in panic, just shoots the pig.
Oh.
Charles, you can just pick it up. Charles dropped in notes like 5 minutes ago, and she's been really discreetly trying to pick it up. You can just pick it up.
I'm trying to make it least.
You're trying to be so discreet.
I am.
Oh no, your cunning plan.
I know, you just call me out. Thanks, Con.
Yeah, so the unit soldier shoots the space pig. The Doctor says, what did you do that for? It was scared. And then you get this really sad, like, little final oink.
And the Doctor's just sitting there, kneeling there next to him, like,
stroking his face.
Stroking his little tiny little snoot. Oh,
Yeah.
poor piggy.
And what do we cut to cement the tone? The General meeting with Green, Blaine and Oliver Charles.
Oh my God, yeah. My notes say, I want to die. This is Russell at his worst. And this is where they're, like, just farting. Again, the tonal whiplash.
Yeah, this is the scene we were
much.
talking about earlier where it's just too much.
Honestly, too much.
This is when Margaret says, I'm shaking my booty.
Oh, God.
And it's a good, like, unbroken minute of just farting.
And just...
I'm an apologist for this story, but this is too much. Because it's not... Once, like, the second one's happened, it stops being funny. And it keeps going.
It's just... Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. This is when the General tries to take command because he deems Green to be unfit.
Yeah.
Which, fair enough.
Yeah, he's like, if I have to call martial law, I will. And he's like, oh, I'm trembling.
Like, oh, I'm scared. He's chewing the scenery.
Yeah.
So he tries to take command. They don't really take kindly to it.
No.
So they unzip and they kill him.
Yeah.
This is that was my note. Literally says they unzip. So this is when we actually get the reveal of what they are. We don't actually see them at this point, I don't think.
No, but we see Harriet's face.
Harriet's hiding in the cupboard because she was tinkering with that with the briefcase with the emergency protocol when they arrive. So she's hiding in the cupboard. And what we essentially see is a zip on the forehead, which they pull open. This like really bright blue light, almost kind of like the same light the Sonic makes.
And it makes a little noise.
Really cool sci-fi noise.
It is a cool sci-fi noise.
I still remember hearing that in the old Doctor Who exhibition as well. But yeah, that shines through. We just see Harriet's face in the cupboard with this blue light, and we hear some squelchy noises and. I don't know how she does this with her face, but she does look horrified.
She does. She honestly, it's just like, mouth agape.
Yeah, she's just like, you know, like when your mouth is like as wide open as it can be, but you're just silent. Yeah. So this is when the Doctor's talking to Dr. Sato and basically says that the space pig is just a normal pig. It looks like it's had his brain rewired and essentially stuck in a ship that was set to dive bomb. So, that's
so sad.
That's really sad.
That's unbelievably sad. Yeah.
Yeah. This is when we cut back to Mickey, who has now entered Rose's flat, where again there's a comically like high amount of people in this flat having a bit of a party.
Yeah.
And then Mickey opens the door and then everyone just drops like dead silent.
And then the one woman's like, someone owes Mickey an apology, and then Rose is like, I'm sorry, and she's like, not you.
Yeah, not you. And then we cut to like just Jackie. And we find out essentially Jackie called the police on Mickey at least 5 times.
Which, well, just...
Yeah.
I'm currently looking at this episode for the exact thing I saw.
Oh,
earlier, 'cause
okay.
I just want to double check.
Okay.
Because I'm almost certain that in
Do you actually have the episode?
I have the episode up.
Charles scrubbing through the episode.
I am. I'm almost certain that Mickey says, because he says this in the TARDIS. it's
Right.
later on.
Yeah.
In the TARDIS, they show Jackie Tyler the TARDIS
Yeah.
to explain what's been going on, and and Mickey says, I've been called into the police or whatever 5 times, but holds up, as far as I was aware, 4 fingers.
Have you found that clip? Is that the case?
I'm trying to find it now.
Yeah. You do that and give us an update on that.
I shall, but yeah.
Back to you in the studio. Yeah. So this is when, so they say that lady says, or someone owes Mickey an apology.
Yeah.
Because obviously since before Rose disappeared for 12 months, Mickey, by all means, was the last person
Who would have seen her?
So he was, I mean, in any, like, murder investigation,
He was
suspect
twice.
number 1, boyfriend, husband, whatever. So yeah, she disappeared, obviously after a while, presumed dead. And Mickey was the obvious suspect. And essentially not helped by Jackie, Ricky, oh no.
Wow. How dare you?
Mickey's reputation
Yeah.
was essentially ruined.
And the worst thing is, obviously, he knew where she went. But
Yeah,
who the
but he
hell is
couldn't say
gonna
anything
believe
because
him?
who would believe him?
Nobody would believe him.
Because at least the
They think he
situation that
was
Rose
nuts.
is in, if she needed to, she could say to the doctor, look, just prove it to her.
Yeah.
There's nothing that Mickey could have done.
Literally nothing.
Yeah.
And this, again, I don't know how, might be jumping ahead a little bit. Yeah, it is. We'll come back to that. But
Okay.
it's just, you just feel so bad for him. And you just find out, obviously, Jackie's kind of turned the whole neighbourhood against him. And to be
Yeah.
fair, again, he was the last person that was with Rose.
Yes.
So this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But you just feel so bad for him.
Yeah, because it's a situation that you can empathise with. Because, in Rose, the episode, Mickey was a bit useless. But at the same time, he's not a bad person.
Yeah.
And he didn't really deserve any of this. And there's nothing he could do about it. So yeah, I get that. But this is when Mickey essentially says to Rose that the doctor's left you. He's run away. I saw him get into the box and it disappeared. They go out, obviously, to check. And Mickey's like, haha, so he told you. Jackie follows them out. And this is when the TARDIS reappears because the doctor's come back.
Yeah, the
What does
key
Jackie
starts
say?
glowing.
Jackie says, how'd you do that then? Yeah. Obviously, Rose has the TARDIS key, which starts glowing gold, which happens again later. So that's kind of cool. I forget how much. I know we said this before, but I forget how much of Series 1 sets up stuff that gets paid off later on this series.
Yeah.
I've said loads of times how something happens in every episode that gets paid off in the finale. But even just little things that aren't super important that come up again, I really like. There's a real good sense of like cohesion in this series, I think. Yeah, the TARDIS reappears. Jackie runs away and essentially dobs them in.
Yeah. Jackie the snitch.
Jackie the snitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, she calls, because on the news they have like a what do you call it? Not a helpline, like a
Yeah, it's kind of like a helpline.
yeah. There's like a telephone number that they're saying if any member of the public has any information that they want to share, please call this number and tell us. So this is when Jackie phones up and says, my daughter's with an alien. She's not safe. He calls himself the Doctor. He's in a blue box, calls it the TARDIS. And the word TARDIS essentially triggers an alarm.
Yeah.
I can't remember exactly how they explain it, but they do say, don't they, that they have like a software in place that searches for keywords being triggered.
And Doctor and TARDIS
Yeah.
and Blue Box
Yeah.
are some of them.
Yeah. Inside the TARDIS, you have this like back and forth where the Doctor's kind of tinkering with the TARDIS, and Mickey says like, "What are you doing?" He's like, and he calls him Ricky.
Yeah.
And this is like an ongoing gag throughout this entire series, I think, where he calls Mickey Ricky.
He really is being such a dick to
He is, yeah, but 9 is petty, isn't he?
He is being really petty. I don't know whether he's being so petty because obviously Mickey's first thing was to have a go at him, and obviously Rose for leaving him.
I don't think it was because he's defending himself because Mickey was hostile towards the Doctor. I think it's either the fact that I could call him Ricky again. It's either because Mickey is the one who essentially stands in the way to potentially take Rose away from him, or it's just because up to this point he's proven himself to be nothing but kind of useless.
Yeah.
The Doctor's still rough enough post-Time War that he's just like, oh, anyone who's just going to waste my time and make things worse can just get out of the way.
Yeah. I say there's one comment that was, or one quote that was said in the episode, which was like a little bit before this, but it still links, which I noted, was the fact that Mickey says to Rose that the Doctor is your new boyfriend, and she said the Doctor isn't my boyfriend. He's so much more important.
Oof.
And that again, I literally put ouch, like, because obviously Mickey is her boyfriend, so she's literally saying like Mickey is so her boyfriend. Significantly more important. She disappeared
with this man for a year,
and it's like he's not my boyfriend, but he's so much more important than you.
That's got to sting.
That's rough.
He's already dead.
Yes. Yeah. And then he goes in and he gets abuse off the Doctor as well.
Yeah. I'm surprised he sticks around as often as long as he does. Yeah. But after the Doctor's done tinkering, he looks up the monitor because he was essentially like tracking the trajectory of the ship that crash landed in the Thames. And this is when he basically finds out that based on the angle of descent, it was essentially slingshotted and came from Earth in the first place. Yeah. So it was launched from Earth, went up into space, and came back down and landed where it did. Obviously, this puts like the whole world on red alert. Mickey says something like "funny way to invade," just making it visible for everyone to notice. And the Doctor says, like, "Good point." I think this is the start of Mickey's redemption.
Yeah, I like it. Is a short arc. Well, it is 2 episodes, but I do like the change of their relationship. Also, I can just say I just found the part in the episode, and he does hold up 4 fingers.
Does he?
He does.
Please show me. This is not going to work in podcast form, but I just want to see this clip out of context.
Again, we've realised that I noticed the strangest things in episodes. I don't know why. That's 4 fingers.
Oh, he does.
He does.
He does, yeah. He says 5 times I got called in, he holds up 4 fingers. Oh, that's incredible.
Mickey, why? Don't prove the Doctor.
It is like
right.
the guy from Shrek, isn't it?
It is.
Pick number 3, my lord.
Number 3, my lord. Yeah, I know. Again, something I noticed in this episode.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Obviously, units been called in. I mean, they were around anyway because alien crash landing. But now that they know the Doctor's involved, this is when they all essentially show up in helicopters, and put a big spotlight on the TARDIS, and Mickey just books it. What I don't understand is because they get surrounded by guards and there's a helicopter with a searchlight on there, Mickey runs away, and then next time you see him, he's like hiding behind some bins nearby.
Yeah.
How the fuck? I nearly swore. How did no one see where he went?
Oh, they did. I just don't think they cared. I don't think they
Mickey
cared.
just thought it was the police again, thinking he's a murder suspect.
Well, yeah. He's now been seen with the girl that was missing.
Yeah. This is when the Doctor again just smiles and kind of looks up.
Yeah, the happy again under what's called gunpoint.
Yeah,
his happy little face being like,
looks and goes, "Take me to your leader."
Oh, I love that quote so much. That is brilliant.
Yeah. So essentially, the Doctor and Rose are escorted to Downing Street because Rose thinks they're like being arrested. She says, "Oh, it's a bit posh. I've never been arrested before." He says, "We're not being arrested. We're being escorted." Back in Downing Street, this is when the Slitheen are complaining about the gas exchange.
Yeah.
So, is Harriet's still in the cupboard? Yes. Harriet's still in the cupboard right now. So obviously they've killed the general. So they're complaining about because again. Green just farts again, and he complains about the gas exchange. He says it's getting ridiculous, and then someone else is like, "Oh, I don't know. It seems very human."
Yeah, and then obviously he's changed suits.
Yeah, so the guy who was Oliver has now
become the general,
and is wearing his skin.
And he then makes some comments which throws out so many questions and make me feel
Yeah,
so
go on.
weird.
Let's talk about this.
So he says, oh, I quite like being Oliver. He said, I had a wife and a mistress and a farm girl. And he was like, oh, I was very busy, or I was...
Yeah, God, I was busy.
And it brings so many questions. My questions sorry, why are the Slitheen having sex?
Fun.
Do they like it? Why do they like it? And how does it work?
I'm telling you, we know from the Slitheen's form that they have tails. They have little tails. I'm telling you, they climb into the skin backwards, and they pop the tail in like a sock. And yeah,
Oh, I hate
this is why people are subscribed.
Apologies to everybody listening everywhere. I just have questions, and I know nobody wants to answer them, and that's okay. But
Yeah.
Again, I know they're just cheeky little throwaway lines, but for me, they're not. I think about these
I'm going to
things.
hold you to this, because if you're going to take these little throwaway lines and you're going to apply logic to them and say, yeah, but how does this actually work out? I expect you to be this.
Oh, I will.
This anal in Moffat's era.
Oh, I will.
I don't think you will.
I will.
I'm
Except
not,
I will
not
be.
talking about River Song, I'm talking about the Doctor leaving the handbrake on.
That's fine.
That's something that annoys me so much.
That's fine. I'm fine. We've had conversation before. I can come up with my own logic for those. But
Can you come up with logic for this? God, I was busy.
I mean, we don't know how. Again, they're shrunk down.
Yes, they wear like a collar around their neck. That's like a compression.
So maybe
field
I don't
circuit.
know. Maybe. I don't fucking know.
Yeah.
Something happens. Either way, he was busy.
Yeah. So this is when they find out that the Doctor's been located. The Doctor. Well, I guess this is technically before the unit come and take them away, but this is when they're still talking in the TARDIS. But the Doctor tells Rose and Mickey about UNIT. He says they're good people. I used to work for them. Obviously, this is the first appearance of UNIT in the new series. Yeah, because Mickey says like, "Oh yeah, don't think I sat on my backside for 12 months and like doing nothing. I
Did my research.
Yeah, I did my research. I looked up on you. There you... What does he say? Like, there you are, like, appearing in the history books for hundreds of years, followed by a list of the dead. And the
Yeah.
Doctor says something like, good boy, Ricky.
Oh God.
Yeah. Yeah, so what's next? So the Doctor and Rose are being escorted to Downing Street. Once they arrive, obviously the Doctor's brought into the main room, the conference room. Rose is told she can't go with him. So Harriet pops up and essentially volunteers to look after her. She says, "Oh, go on, let me be of some use."
Yeah, Harriet at this point has overheard about the Doctor's name and about how he is an expert.
Yeah.
And how he would know how to deal with these things. So she's looking for him to try and pull him aside and have a word with him about what she's seen.
Yeah.
But obviously, they're having none of it. So she offers to take Rose to the side and look after her. But obviously, her intentions are to see if Rose can help.
Yeah. Obviously, whilst Harriet is looking after Rose, in quotation marks, this is when we cut back to Jackie's flat and there's a knock at the door and it's a police officer. So he's talking to her, trying to gather info on the Doctor. We know he's a Slitheen.
Yeah, because he sits down and he farts.
Yeah. He does another little toot. Harriet obviously tells Rose about the Slitheen. She tells her what she's seen about how they they kill them and essentially wear the skin. And
She
disguise.
shows him. She shows her.
Oh yeah, she does. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well.
She shows her the.
Oliver?
Well, initially she just like starts kind of crying, and Rose says, "It's okay, I believe you."
And she just gives her the most awkward half hug.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, they're there."
Yeah. But then Harriet takes her to the
protocol.
And shows her like the skin suit. And this is what they also find the Prime Minister in the cupboard.
Yes, they do.
And what is his position? The guy that Harriet keeps talking
Assistant, maybe?
Yeah,
Like,
the guy who's essentially telling Harriet Jones the entire time that she can't go in and talk to the PM.
Yeah.
He stumbles into the room and says like, "Oh my God, that's the Prime Minister." So the so the guy says, "You know, what's the Prime Minister doing here? He left for somewhere. I can't remember where he was supposed to be going, but he said he left for something this morning." And this is when Margaret walks in and says something like, "Well, who told you that?" Me. Again, everyone's kind of chewing the scenery in this.
Yeah.
I do know. I know I mentioned this earlier, but the reason I know who the PM was in this time is not because I have good knowledge of politics, but it's because one of the trivia things I have for this episode was that the PM was originally going to be Tony Blair, but the lookalike they got was disappointing. The Tony Blair lookalike didn't look much like him, so they just opted to just have him be face down instead.
Fair enough.
Which, imagine being that guy. Heartbreaking.
Disappointing.
Yeah.
Oh.
So this is kind of the end of the episode. So we get like a 3-way cliffhanger here. So the doctor's in the conference room and he kind of just immediately interrupts the general and starts talking about what do we know. He says radiation was found in the North Sea but was immediately forgotten after the crash because it got the world's attention. He wonders, why fake the crash, and he kind of comes to the conclusion, it gets all the experts in one place. This is when Green and the general kind of just start hamming it up a bit, and the general essentially unzips. And he says, Green says, "Thank you all for wearing your ID cards. It'll help to identify the bodies." And he clicks a button and essentially starts electrocuting everybody. At the same time, Margaret is in the room with Rose and Harriet and starts unzipping there. And the general is in Jackie's flat and he also starts to unzip.
Policeman.
What did I say?
General.
Yeah, policeman. The policeman in Jackie's flat starts to unzip.
Again, slight little note. I've said, I hate the face he makes.
Yeah, when the police officer starts to unzip,
Oh God.
he kind of cocks his head to the side, opens his mouth and sticks his tongue out a little bit.
And his eyes go crossed.
He looks like he's enjoying it.
Too much, yeah.
You probably would.
I mean, they said the gas exchange is a bit.
I guess it's like taking your belt off after a long day. It's like taking your bra off.
Yeah, well,
Or like taking your shoes off maybe after a really long day.
Well, even then,
And you
though,
just get that like, kind of feeling.
Yeah, but I don't think I've ever made that face in any of those circumstances.
All right, fair enough.
Maybe it's more extreme.
But that's essentially the cliffhanger to part 1.
Yep.
To be continued.
Should we speak about it as a cliffhanger and then carry on? Like,
what do you mean?
Well, obviously we're going to carry on into the next episode, but should we speak about how...
Or how it works as a cliffhanger?
Yeah, how effective it is.
Yeah, I think it's a good cliffhanger.
I agree. I think it is quite an effective cliffhanger.
I think it's good that it... Obviously, we have these 3 main locations. And it's good that every one of the characters are in danger. So it's... Because there's always that thing, isn't it? Of like, oh no, the doctor's in danger, but in the first 10 seconds of the next episode, the doctor's just going to do something to get out of it. And it makes you wonder, how are all 3 of them going to get out of this?
Yeah.
And I think the way it's paid off is quite good.
Especially with, Jackie. Because...
She's helpless, isn't she?
She is helpless, and she has no experience with this kind of thing, do you mean? She's in the flat on her own with the policeman. And at least with Rose and Harriet and the assistant, do you mean there's 3 of them? And
Again, they're in like a big room as well, so you think like they may be able to kind of like do a loop around the table.
Yeah.
Jackie's just cornered in her kitchen.
Yeah.
Like she's screwed.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's quite a good cliffhanger.
I agree.
I know you have logistical questions about how it's resolved.
Yeah, a little bit, but I think I could probably think of an answer.
Okay. Well, let's do that. Right, so part 2, obviously we get our previously on, we get the recap. Cut to, thank you all for wearing your ID cards. It'll help identify the bodies. Everybody's been electrocuted. The resolution essentially is the doctor grabs the ID card, like he like pulls it from off of his neck. He's still been electrocuted at this time.
But it's not severe, it seems.
It's not. It seems to have killed the humans already.
Oh, yeah.
He says something like, deadly to humans, maybe. But he's kind of like struggling forward, and he essentially attaches it to the Slitheen's, to the General Slitheen's collar.
Yeah.
Which not only electrocutes him, but electrocutes all of them.
Yeah. And I did make a note here of like there seems to be no resistance from them.
Yeah,
like,
as in when the doctor's
taking
slowly
it off.
stumbling towards them,
And yeah,
they're just kind of standing there watching him.
yeah, they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
But then I guess you could argue what could they do, but I don't know. Maybe,
I mean, if they want,
maybe
things
they're
we
just
see
in
the way
shock.
we see them run later, like we know that they are capable of being quick and agile.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe it's the thing of just watching him because they think he's just going to die in a minute.
Maybe.
But yeah, I like that. Even though all 3 of these players are in danger in the cliffhanger, I like how the doctor's actions save everybody.
See,
I guess in some way
don't.
you could argue it's maybe a little contrived that like the collar somehow link them all. I understand that, but I think that's more satisfying than all 3 of them getting lucky. Because the doctor's using his brain and his kind of alien physiology to, not be dead. But like if Harriet and Rose did something and Jackie did something, and they all just got lucky and got out of it, I think it would feel a bit cheap. But the fact that the doctor used his alien biology to his advantage and shocking the collar, affecting all of them, is essentially what saves everyone. I kind of like that. I understand it's a little contrived that all the collars are linked, but I think I like that more than the idea of them all just kind of like doing something. Does that make sense? I'm going to assume you don't agree.
because for me it makes the issue I have with things like this is, and I know it doesn't matter, but it brings more questions to me that obviously I can't have answered. Like for me, it's like, how are they linked? But not only that, for example, you have what are they called, the people who come in later. Like you have like she's the president of the yacht community, yachting club or something. She must have also had like an electric shock at that point. There were other Slitheen's around the world.
Remind me, when the Doctor zaps the General, does it also affect Green?
Yeah.
It does?
Yeah.
Okay. Because my thing was, does it only affect the ones that aren't in the suits?
No.
It affects him as well?
Yeah, as far as
I guess
I
so,
believe
then.
it does, yeah.
So I guess there'd just be a bunch of random humans all just being electrocuted. Yeah.
I think it does anyway. Yeah, it does.
Because he's the one, because Green is the one that
He's
stops it. Because he reaches forward and he pulls the thing off of the General, doesn't he? Yeah. Anyway, so the Doctor essentially takes this moment to run and get the police squad led by our Welsh chap.
Yeah, and at this time, whilst he's doing this, the General is getting back into his suit.
Yes, he's, quick, let me get in my disguise. Mickey essentially pops into Jackie's flat as the police officer Slitheen is being electrocuted, and he saves Jackie and kind of quickly pulls out his flip phone and just kind of snaps a little pap of the Slitheen.
Don't forget, he WWE style smacks
Oh,
a chair over the Slitheen's
He picks
head.
up a chair and just a wooden chair and just smashes it over his body.
And just nothing.
Yeah, it doesn't seem to bother the Slitheen that much, but it is quite funny.
Yeah.
And Harriet and Rose just kind of run away.
Yeah, but the assistant does not make it. He dies.
Because that happens just before the cliffhanger, doesn't it?
No.
Does it not? I thought she kills him before she gets electrocuted, right?
Actually, she must have,
Because she grabs him and kind of like holds him up against the wall.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, and then she must get electrocuted, yeah. It's got to be because... Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, like we said, they remove the kind of electrified badge and start putting the skin back on. So when the doctor comes back into the room with the police squad, what does the general? Oh no, it's not. It's Green, isn't it? That says something like, "Oh, there was this lightning, and now they're all dead. He did it," and points at the doctor. And the doctor says, "I think you'll find the Prime Minister's actually an alien in disguise." And he just looks at the Welsh guy and says, "That's never going to work, is it?" He goes, "Nope." And then the doctor just runs away.
Yeah. Again, it just makes me laugh. At this point, Rose and Harriet have run off.
Yeah.
But, well, Blonde or Margaret, she's been able to, obviously she's no longer being shocked. So you get an animation of like her running a little bit, like running towards.
Yes.
And I just put, oof, the
CGI.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, I think the Slitheen, the practical costumes are really cool.
They're
really good. The blinking still, I think, looks incredible.
It's so creepy, but I love it.
But the thing is, obviously, the Slitheen occasionally have to be fast and agile.
Yeah.
So the costumes were very bulky, very clumsy, and that's why
they couldn't.
They're good for like dialogue scenes, but there's no way the actors could theoretically look intimidating while sprinting after someone dressed like that. No. That's when you look like Peter Kay in Love and Monsters. It just looks silly. So whenever you see the Slitheen essentially having to be fast and agile and chasing down corridors, they just fully CGI, and the effects haven't aged the best. No. I know I said in
they didn't have the budget, and they didn't have.
Well, I said in episode 2 that most of the series CGI budget went on the End of the World.
Yeah.
And that episode mostly holds up. It looks really good, but obviously this kind of suffered a bit as a result. It's
one of those things that I hope they bring them back, just because it's been so long. I hope they bring them...
When they came back in the Sarah Jane Adventures, apparently they modified the costumes.
Yeah.
So the costumes were more flexible and more... The actors had more range of movement in the prosthetics.
Well, I can't remember what it's called, but it's the one in the school. But the child is... I'm almost certain, like, there might be a bit of CGI, but the child running is actually running, like, in the suit. Like, they run in the suits. They don't...
Yeah.
There might be a couple of scenes where they're, like, full pelt running, but generally, most movement is with the actual costume.
That's what I mean. The CGI is a bit ropey. It doesn't bother me a whole lot, though, because it's a very quick shot. Do you know what I mean? It happens maybe 2 or 3 times in the episode, but it's always a shot that lasts no longer than like 5 seconds.
Yeah. So
if you compare it to something like the Lazarus experiment, where obviously the CGI of the monster is rubbish, but the thing is, like, the whole episode is the monster chasing them, and the whole episode kind of is just ugly to look at. Yeah. Where because you just have this one like 5-second shot of a Slitheen like breaking a door down, and then next time you see them, it's just the prosthetic again. It doesn't bother me that much. I know what you mean. It is a bit jarring in the moment, but it doesn't distract me for long.
Yeah. Yeah. So at this point, obviously, the doctor's run out, but he's in gunpoint again.
Yeah, the doctor's being chased by the SWAT soldiers.
Happy again to be at gunpoint.
Yeah, he's got a plan.
He has got a plan.
Yeah, because the general says, "Execute this man," and the doctor says something along the lines of, "Just a bit of advice: if you're going to back someone, or if you're going to put someone at gunpoint, don't back him against the lift.
Yeah.
And then he
Gets in.
steps backwards. The lift door's open. He steps backwards into it, sonics it, and the doors close. They obviously speed the footage up to make it look like a fast movement. But I do love the idea of like everyone just standing there watching this happen.
Well, again, it's I love the fact that he backs in and they all kind of like shimmy round to view him stepping back into nobody shoots.
Yeah.
Maybe some of them
you
are
would make the
birds.
argument, oh well, they haven't been ordered to, but they literally have.
They literally been ordered to shoot him. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good job he didn't.
Yeah. Can you imagine if you turn it in David Tennant then?
He comes out the lift as somebody else. It'd be like
Quick change.
It'd be like, what's it called? Is it Tonight with the Stars or that TV show years ago?
I have no idea.
Where like people would, like your average person would go like into this door and they'd come back out of the door and they'd be dressed as like Elvis Presley and then they'd do a song as Elvis Presley.
Oh, that rings a bell.
Yeah.
Is that the thing? I've seen a clip of Harry Hill doing Morrissey.
Yeah.
Is that what that's
I think
from?
so, yeah. I think they did like
Yeah.
a different version. I think it's like Night with the Stars or something like that. What's it called?
At this point, Green and Asquith join Margaret Blaine, who's obviously hunting Harriet and Rose. They're both hiding in this room. Rose is like hiding behind the curtain, and Harriet, is hiding behind like a.
No, Harriet's hiding behind a divider, isn't it?
Yeah, like Rose is behind the curtain. Harriet
And then
is
she
like
moves,
I don't know how to describe it. It looks like the thing like in old fashioned like period pieces, what people would get changed behind.
It's a divider.
Yeah.
It's a divider.
There's some weird comments here, isn't it? I think is it Green? What one of the Slitheen is near Harriet and says like, I smell an old girl.
Yeah.
And then Margaret says like, ooh, and the young ones, all adrenaline
And hormones.
Yeah.
She was like, oh, she made a comment like, oh, I like it when they get scared. They stink. And Harriet's
So,
like,
but that's something though. It's moments like this I do like the Slitheen
yeah.
in concept.
Oh, I again, another little comment of mine, sorry.
Yeah.
So before this, Harriet and Rose decide to go back into the room where Blonde was, or Margaret, because Harriet's like, we forgot the briefcase.
Oh, the cabinet room, yeah.
Yeah. And then, obviously, Margaret is no longer being electrocuted, so runs out, and Harriet's face, as they're running away, she goes, oh! Like...
I'm not gonna lie, I don't have a memory of this. I might have tuned out during that.
No, you didn't. I know you know exactly what bit I am on about because the two of us laughed hard.
We laughed at the moment, did we?
Because there was at one point we watched it a year or so ago, and we paused it on that moment just by chance.
Oh, I know the bit you're
And
talking
you know the
about.
exact bit, and she's like, ah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it like near the stairs?
Yeah, they literally run into the room and then turn around, do a U-turn and run straight back out.
Yeah.
And she's like flailing.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah. But back to where we were. Rose and Harriet are in that room. The Slitheen are there hunting them down. And the Doctor essentially pops in with a fire extinguisher and saves them. He just kind of sprays them all down. They have very brief introductions.
Before that happens, the Slitheen are about to attack them, and Harriet jumps out and says, "Take me first."
So they find Rose, and Rose kind of just panics and just kind of stands there and is about to die, and then Harriet jumps out and goes, "No, take me first." Which, again, I love Harriet Jones.
So funny.
Harriet's willing to die. Like she doesn't know Rose,
No,
but she's happy to throw herself on the line to possibly just buy her time. I like that. I love Harriet Jones. I know you don't like her, but I think she's
it's not that I don't like her. It's the I know that's the whole point, but you know, Harriet Jones, Flydale North, like it's too much.
Is it just that running gag you don't like?
I mean, it's because she calms down a little bit, like later on in the other times we see her. I know we don't see her a lot, but
Yeah.
even in this episode, do you mean this episode compared to the first episode, she's quite different. Do you mean she's
Yeah, I guess. Because I guess she's set up in Aliens of London to be more...
Like quite assertive or pushy. She's
yeah,
getting
but
what she
also
wants.
kind of a bit bumbling.
Yeah.
Not in the terms of like she's unintelligent, but as in no one takes her seriously. Where this is where she essentially has to pull her punches and
She actually takes charge.
She
shows
does.
leadership, yeah.
So they head back to the cabinet room to get the emergency protocols. The Slitheen are about to follow them in when the doctor grabs a bottle of port. He threatens to use his sonic to triplicate the flammability of the alcohol.
Yeah.
And then they all just kind of stop, and he's like, oh.
Yeah.
So this is when the doctor's like, what does he say, like question time? And this is when he starts essentially quizzing them to figure out what their plan is. He asks why they're invading. They basically say they're not. This is when we find out that Slitheen is not their species, but is actually their surname. It's the family name. So Green, I think his name is Jacrassa. So I think he's Jacrassa Felfot Passamia de Slitheen. I think.
I don't know.
And they basically work out they're here for so the doctor says, oh, so you're a family, so you're here for business reasons. And then this is when the one Slitheen says, sorry, you said you were going to do what to the port? Triplicate the flammability? Is that what I said? You're making this up. So the doctor gives them a very brief history lesson. Then he tells them that the cabinet room used to be... What does he say? I can't remember what he says about it.
Well, it was like after a certain date, they created...
He says in like the 90s they reinforced it with like 3-inch thick steel walls or something.
Yeah.
And he essentially flicks a button and all the doors and windows get like...
Shut.
Yeah, shut with like really thick metal. This is when he says, nothing can get in. And Harry says, and we can't get out. This is when I thought it was good. So the Slitheen essentially just leave them and they summon the rest of the family to Downing Street.
Our absolute champ, Andrew Marr.
Andrew Marr's outside.
Makes another brilliant comment.
Yeah, he said, I actually have the list here. So he said, he's obviously a bit confused about the people that are showing up now.
Yeah.
So he says there's an RAF captain, the Deputy Secretary for Scottish Parliament, and the Chairman of the North Sea Boating Club.
Yeah. Quite what connects these people, we have no idea.
What connects them, Shah?
What connects them, Connor?
They're all overweight.
I don't think you could say... Well, you probably could have said it then, but...
They are all overweight. They're not like morbidly obese. They're not that big, but they're all people of a larger frame, is what we'll say.
I enjoy the fact that both times he's been on screen, Andrew Marr, he says, I don't know what they've got to do with anything.
Yeah.
I don't know why they're here.
Yeah.
It's like, thank you.
Yeah. We cut back to Mickey and Jackie, who essentially take shelter in Mickey's flat because he says, you'll be safe here. No one's going to look for you here since you hate me so much.
Aww.
This is when they have that like really brief like thing where like Jackie says, yeah, how do you think I feel? You saved my life. How embarrassing is that?
Yeah. And he's like, yeah.
Yeah. He's like, yeah, you're telling me.
And doesn't she go to have a drink, like a drink of alcohol? And he says,
yeah.
He's like, I know what you like when you drink. This isn't time for a conga.
I love those little like one-liners from Russell in this one. In this story. So the police officer Slitheen is tracking Mickey and Jackie's scent. So he's kind of like sniffing them out and following them. The doctor, obviously he's stuck in the room still with Rose and Harriet, and he's kind of looking for an escape route. This is when we get a bit of exposition as to how the Slitheen work. Rose asks how they fit inside the skin, and the doctor says, the collars have a compression field and it creates a gas exchange. The doctor says, Harriet Jones, that name sounds familiar. Are you famous?
She's like, no, not me.
Yeah, she says, no, not me. Rose asks if the protocols have like nuclear codes. This is when Harriet says, you're a very violent woman. Harriet says that the codes are held by the UN, which, fair enough. Rose gets a text from Mickey, and it's the photograph he took earlier.
Yeah.
So the doctor... Rose calls Mickey, because even though they shouldn't have any signal because of the reinforced steel, obviously Rose has the superphone from episode 2. Again, another thing that was just set up that has a little like payoff later. I love that stuff. But Rose can call Mickey with the superphone, and the doctor essentially says, I might swallow these words, but I need you.
Yeah.
So the doctor tells Mickey to log onto the unit website, and he's gonna get access to the Navy. The password is Buffalo.
And again, something I noticed is that it's the same password all the time. Just keep repeating it.
Yeah.
Just repeat Buffalo. Just again another comment.
It's just Russell
Security.
just laughing how rubbish the security is. Yeah. Yeah, same password for everything. Every time it comes up, Buffalo. 2 F's, 1 L. This is that moment that's, where Jackie asks if Rose is safe.
Yeah, and again, another very sweet moment. And it's like the look, because Rose is like, I'm a grown up now. I'm fine.
I'm a grown up. I'm fine. You don't need to be like this. But she says to the doctor, Jackie does, I've seen this life you lead, and you may think it's clever, and you may think it's fun and exciting, but can you promise me that my daughter will always be safe? Yeah. And he can't really answer her.
No, he gives Rose a look, and he's just silent, isn't he?
Yeah.
And then they obviously get interrupted.
And then
by Mickey.
Mickey says, "We're in." Famous Naughty's hacking line.
Yeah.
We're in.
I love the fact that Mickey thinks he's a hacker.
Yeah, because Jackie says, "What are you doing?" He says, "I'm hacking into the Royal Navy." No, Mickey, you're not hacking into the Navy if you know the password.
Yeah, no.
That's not hacking. That's just logging into someone else's account.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess you could argue it's a felony, but... Yeah. Mickey finds the signal that the Slitheen ship in the North Sea has been pulsing into space. This is when the doorbell rings. And what does Jackie say? Something like, "Who's ringing the doorbell at 3 in the morning?" Yeah, did he say something? He says, "I go answer the door," and she's like, "Who's ringing the doorbell at 3 in the morning?" And he's like, "Go check." Go tell them it's 3 in the morning. Yeah. So Jackie goes to the door, opens it up. It's the police officer. "Hello, Miss Tyler." And it makes me laugh. She closes the door and runs away, but she doesn't lock it. I mean,
to be fair,
he could break it down. But don't make it easy for him.
No.
And then make him work to break the door down. Don't just let him just push the handle open.
Yeah. Just like...
This is when Jackie runs into the
best
room
line of the series.
Yeah, with Mickey. And she kind of does the robot with her arms. And she goes, "It's him. It's the thing. It's the Slitheen." Which... I love. I kind of just quote
just doing the little robot arms.
It's the thing. It's the Slitheen. Yeah. Mickey grabs a baseball bat and he tries to fend it off. And this is where we get what might be my favourite scene in this episode, which is where obviously Rose says something like, "That's my mum," and then the doctor immediately panics because he's like, "Right, I've got to sort this out." So they need to find a weakness, and they have this scene where the doctor basically says, to find a weakness, we need to work out where they're from. To work out where they're from, we need to figure out all the information we have on them. Yeah. So they're basically standing around the table and they're just throwing out facts that they know about them. And the doctor's like, "Right, narrows it down." So they say, "They're green," narrows it down. What else is it? The tech or that they used for the pig brain, narrows it down.
Does this say something about the spaceship as well?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a type of engine. I can't remember what it was, but yeah, everything narrows it down. Harry Jones says, "Have you noticed when they fart, if you'll pardon the word, it doesn't just smell like a fart, if you'll pardon the word. It smells like," Rose says, "bad breath." She goes, "Yes." And that's when the doctor says, "Yes, BO, calcium decay." And he works it out and he narrows it down to Raxacorica fallopatorius. and he essentially works out that the Slitheen are creatures of living calcium. So the Doctor tells Jackie and Mickey to use vinegar, more or less. So
Well,
Jackie gets like a mixing...
it's a measuring jug.
A measuring jug, yeah, sorry. And essentially starts looking for anything kind of acidic. So it's like, what was it? Pickled onions.
Pickled onions, pickled, like, it was pickles, I think. And pickled eggs.
Yeah, pickled eggs, vinegar. So the Doctor says, like, you kissed this man. Yeah, so Mickey's just kind of standing there with this baseball bat primed, ready to hit the Slitheen, and Jackie just throws this, like, vinegar concoction onto him. And then it makes it because the music just cuts. And then there's, like, a good, like, second or two where they're just looking at each other, and then the Slitheen explodes. And, oh, it looks so gross.
I love this effect. It's so gross. It's like...
It's like green slop, isn't it? This goes everywhere, and it hits Mickey in the face.
It's the thing, because it's not even like slime. Because slime,
there's too much solid in there for it to be slime.
it's like chunks. It's like actual proper chunks.
It's like if you had slime, but you had like spaghetti in it.
Even then, I feel like it's like if you left slime to dry out for like a couple of years, and then you put a little bit of water to it, and then you threw it at a wall.
Ooh. Either way, it's gross.
It is.
The effect's really good,
it's so good. I love it.
Yeah. So all the other Slitheen that are obviously still alive, they can sense the death of their brother, seemingly. He says, like, you know, well, someone must have got lucky, and Green says, you know, that's the last bit of luck that anyone on this rock is going to get. And that's when he goes and makes this speech to the media. He says that the aliens have killed the experts. They have, you know, weapons that can destroy us all. He basically urges the UN to release the access codes
so that they can nuke the spaceships above the UK.
Yeah, which obviously doesn't exist.
No.
So this is when the Doctor basically opens the door again, because Blonde, or Margaret, is still standing outside with like two other Slitheen. And this is when the Doctor's just trying to get more information. So he says, okay, so you're going to launch the missiles at the other nations, essentially starting World War III. This is when she basically says that they're going to sell the radioactive remains of the Earth as a fuel source. And the signal from the ship in the North Sea is like beaming an advertisement. So other aliens will come to Earth to pick up the product, essentially.
Yeah. There's a recession, don't you know?
Yeah. I think it's a smart plan.
I do. I think it's a really cool... It's not just like, we want to take over the world. It's like it's a more
nuanced goal anyway than just, oh, we want to create Slitheen planet. But also, again, when you break it all down, you think like it's not just they want this resource that they want to sell, but the entire plan about broadcasting the signal that's like the sales pitch, essentially, you know, slingshotting the ship around, creating hysteria to gather all the experts in one place to take them out.
Yeah.
It is quite a good plan.
It's a very good plan. But you can tell...
It's a better plan than the Daleks usually come up with.
Well, yeah. But that's the thing, you can tell that they're like a superior race just because they're so...
Very business-minded, aren't they?
Business-minded, but so, I don't know what the word is, like manipulative.
Yeah.
Like they literally, all of them have manipulated their ways into the human world.
Yeah.
And stayed there, and obviously they're uncomfortable in these suits.
Yeah.
But they're doing it because it's for their greater good. It's for their business. It's a business tactic. And I just think it's great.
Yeah.
I think it's a really, really interesting idea for like a villains or a monsters.
Yeah.
Like, what's
it makes a bit of a break, doesn't it? Rather than just, we want to kill everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is when the Doctor basically says, stop this or I will have to stop you. And
she laughs.
I love this bit too, because she kind of laughs and the Doctor just kind of seals the door, and the door comes down slowly, and they're locking eyes, and she's like laughing at him, But then as the door's about to basically block their eye line, she stops and she looks at him with what looks like hatred, and then kind of for just a flicker looks like fear.
Yeah.
And it looks like she has that moment of like panic of like, oh shit, like,
yeah, is he actually gonna do?
Is
something?
he capable of this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they don't know anything about him.
No.
They thought he was
but
human.
But again, he's very like, he's not missed a beat so far, and he's obviously very determined, and he's just staring her down this entire time. So she goes from very confident to basically hating his guts to, how do I say, having that slight flicker of fear in the span of about 5 seconds. And I think it's just really cool. It's really, really, really well performed, I think.
Yeah.
But at this point, because the doctor's resealed the room, all the Slitheen go into the main office, the Prime Minister's office, and they wait by the phone. Oh my god, it's actually red.
Again, later on, they go, ring already.
Yeah. Again, you know how you said in Jackie's flat, every time they cut back, there's more people. That
more.
Happens in this room. There's more Slitheen every time they come back
standing
to the room.
around the red phone.
Ring, damn it. Jackie calls the doctor and says, there must be something you can do. The doctor basically says there is an option, but he can't guarantee Rose's safety. Jackie basically says, no, don't you dare. Rose says, yeah, do it. And he says, what, you don't even know what it is and you'd let me? And she says, yeah, essentially.
And then the doctor basically gives Jackie a speech, and he's like, this is my life. I have to make decisions when...
Yeah, he says, I don't think it's clever. I don't think it's exciting. It's just making a choice when no one else will and standing up for what you think's right.
And then Harriet does something that's pretty badass, and she's like, well, I'm taking it out of your hands. You don't have to make this choice. I'm making it for you. You do as you're told.
She says, I'm the only one in this room that's an elected official by the people for the people, and I command you. Do it. The doctor kind of looks at Rose, and she kind of gives him the nod, and then he's all smiles. So the doctor tells Mickey to access the Navy systems. He finds a submarine off the coast of Plymouth, and he launches a harpoon missile at number 10 Downing Street.
Well, before that, I'd just like to make a little note that Jackie, obviously the doctor tells Mickey to access the Navy.
Yes.
And Jackie says, I could stop you.
Yeah.
And Mickey kind of gives her the look of like, please stop me.
Yeah, because he says do it then, but it's not like he's goading her. It's like he's actually like, because obviously again, Mickey's
Rose.
gonna lose Rose in this scenario, so it's like he says do it then, and it's like he is actually kind of
he's like he's pleading with her.
Yeah,
somewhat.
But she can't.
No, because
she just sits down. And Mickey essentially fires this missile. This is when we find out from the news. Trinity Wells tells us that the UN have agreed to release the codes.
The little note of a little comment or a little thing that the Slitheen said.
Which one?
Victory should be naked.
Yeah, victory should be naked. So the missile's coming. We get that really weird shot
so low
of Jackie seeing the missile, and it's like it's not only low down in the sense of it's flying in between these flats, in between these buildings, but it's also going like absurdly slow.
Yes.
Again, I guess it makes, it builds tension and it makes more sense, but obviously a missile would just fly straight up and then down. It wouldn't just fly vertically in between all these skyscrapers.
No, if it's being shot from the sea.
Yeah, off the coast of Plymouth into London.
Yeah, it's not gonna go that height the whole freaking way.
Yeah.
You just see it weaving in and out of buildings on the way.
Yeah. Rose basically says, look, I'm not just going to sit here and die. I'm going to do something. So this is when she kind of... what'd she say, like standing under door frames in the event of an earthquake, because it's supposed to be really strong.
Yeah.
So they hide in the cupboard, essentially.
Yeah, she said it's a small room and therefore it's a stronger room because there's less surface area for it, obviously, to buckle.
Yeah. So Rose, Harriet, and the doctor essentially just sit down in the corner of the cupboard and they hold hands, which I just kind of love that image as well. I think it's kind of sweet that they're like, we don't know if we're going to survive this, but, you know, we've kind of done this together. We were all on the same page. Let's just see what happens, which I kind of like. The police squad sergeant, the Welsh guy, he tries to evacuate Downing Street.
Which he does successfully.
He does, yeah. He gets everyone to run for their lives.
He runs in to inform the Prime Minister of the missile.
Yeah.
And then goes, oh.
Yeah, he walks in, sees the Slitheen out of disguise, and goes, sorry. And then just closes the door and runs away again. Yeah. All the Slitheen are like scrambling to try and put their disguises back on.
Yeah.
And Green looks up into the sky as the missile's coming down and goes, oh, bot.
And
And the place, but I don't know what he was looking at, because surely he would just be looking at the ceiling.
Yeah.
But yeah, he was going to say, oh, bollocks.
Yeah.
And then the missile
blows him up.
Yeah, blows him up. And canonically, in 2006, in Doctor Who's universe, 10 Downing Street got blew up by a Navy missile. Sent
by Mickey.
Could they track that to his IP address?
Yes. Again, a note I made here was how on earth would he access those systems?
I guess Harriet got to smooth that over.
Yeah, she could. Well, you could argue.
Judging by her position next time we see her.
Yeah, this is true. Technically, he did what he did under the command of the Doctor, who, you know...
Well, under her command?
Well, her command and the command of the Doctor.
Yeah.
And for the greater good as well. So, he shouldn't have done it, but, you know...
Yeah.
You're surprised... It's something that it's like, after all that, I know he didn't hack, but after all doing all that, you'd be surprised that... Well, I'm surprised they don't give him a better job. When we see him next, he's just...
Just loitering.
Same old Mickey.
Yeah. So after Downing Street explodes, the entire building is rubble except for the room they're in, which looks like a pretty strong metal box.
It's been shaken about. They've been looked like put in a washing machine. They were just rolling around.
Yeah. But they get out, and Harriet rather smugly looks at the box and says, "Made in Britain," and taps it. So obviously the Doctor and Rose come out looking a bit kind of a bit groggy, and Harriet essentially says, "Oh, someone's got to go talk to this lot." So she walks over to the press and essentially
she's like,
takes it upon herself to essentially update everyone. She says the threat's over.
To be fair, as she said, literally everybody else who could have made that speech were in the room.
Yeah.
That, all got electrocuted, so...
Yeah. So, yeah.
Yeah,
kind of...
And then the Doctor remembers where he remembered her name.
He does.
From.
He says, "Harriet Jones, I know I remember that name." And he says that she will become Prime Minister for 3 successive terms and architect Britain's golden age. And again, Murray Gold's music playing as you see her walking towards the press, and he's saying this. I don't know. It's really nice.
It's very sweet, isn't it?
Yeah. But they go home. Jackie and Rose are having a chat. Jackie offers to make dinner for them all. What are you just cackling at?
She's like, "What does he eat?" And she's like, "I don't know, just food." And she's like, "Oh, I didn't know he'd eat grass and safety pins."
Yes. I was thinking about making a shepherd's pie.
Shepherd's pie.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, he's finally met his match. You're cooking."
Yeah, you're not too old for a slap, Yeah, Rose's phone buzzes. It says TARDIS, and it's got a little blue box icon.
Yeah.
She's like, "You have a phone?" He's like, "I got the most sophisticated time and space machine in the universe. You think I don't have a phone?" Yeah, Rose basically says, "My mum wants to cook dinner." He says, "No, I don't do that." He says he's cancelled out the Slitheen's advert, so they won't get any bargain hunters rocking up. And that's kind of it. He punishes the graffiti kid.
He does. He makes him scrub it off.
The kid who graffitied Bad Wolf onto the side of the TARDIS, he's got him washing it off.
Do you think the TARDIS is I don't know, some of the more high-tech cars nowadays where like there's motion sensors, so anytime anybody walks past it, it's a
Beep, beep,
record.
beep, beep, beep.
No, there's like a recording. It records. There's like little cameras
You've got a
around.
Ring doorbell in every corner.
Yeah, like I think Teslas have it, don't they? If you walk past a Tesla, even if nobody's in the car, it records. Records like the cameras which you use for like reversing and stuff. It records people walking past. So maybe he's
Breach
got
of privacy there.
But, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, there's this really kind of like heartbreaking moment where Jackie goes into the other room to obviously start making dinner, and she comes back and Rose is gone. And then when she goes through, Rose is like packing in her bedroom, and she says, "Don't go, sweetheart." And Rose just kind of gives her a look.
Yeah.
This is when we cut to outside, and the doctor and Mickey are having a chat. Mickey sat on a bin, and he's like reading a newspaper, and he says, "I can't believe it." And on the newspaper it says like it was all a hoax.
Yeah.
He said, "How can they say that? It happened. We all saw it." And the doctor essentially says, "Yep, that's what you do. You're just not ready for it yet. Do you know why? You're all thick."
Yeah. And he's like,
Yeah, and Mickey just kind of like laughs. The doctor gives him a disc, like a CD. He tells him it's a virus. He said, "Upload this online. It'll destroy every trace of me. You're right. I am dangerous. I've been noticed. I don't want anyone following me," basically. The doctor offers him a spot on the TARDIS.
Yeah.
Basically says, "You did good, kid."
Oh, which is I like that. It's very sweet.
Mickey says no. He says he doesn't think he can do all that. He's not about that life, but he said, "Don't tell Rose."
Yeah, and he doesn't.
No. So when Rose and Jackie come back out, Rose asks Mickey to come, and the doctor essentially says, "No, I won't have him on board. He's a liability." And Rose says, "Oh, sorry." And yeah, there's this kind of like quick look that Mickey gives the doctor, kind of like this like gratitude. Yeah, and that's what I mean. I think from this moment onwards, Mickey's character is on this like gradual arc from the loser that he was in Rose to who he will eventually become by the end of like series 4, and this is the start of that. I think not just to him becoming more confident and becoming a more capable person, but also his and the doctor's relationship. Because you always think of like him and 9 butt heads, where he and 10 had a good relationship.
Yeah.
But I think even by the end of this series, him and 9 have a good relationship.
Yeah.
It's just, it takes a while to get there. He's got to earn it. And I think this is that first step.
Yeah.
Which I think is really nice. So what else was there? Rose basically tells, because Jackie doesn't want Rose to leave for obvious reasons, because last time she disappeared for a year. And Rose basically tells Jackie, "Hey, I can go out there and I can see all these stars and these other planets and be back in 10 seconds time."
Yeah.
So she said, "I'll see you in 10 seconds." And they go away and the TARDIS disappears, and Jackie
Says 10.
she counts to 10 and just kind of looks disappointed.
She looks at Mickey and then just walks off.
Yeah.
Doesn't she?
She looks disappointed but not surprised.
Yeah.
It's quite a good performance, I think. Like I say, you can tell she's disappointed, but it's not like I genuinely expected her to be here.
She
like
knows. It's
I knew
a
this was gonna
confirmation.
happen.
Yeah. She's sad that it confirmed her worries.
Yeah. And she essentially walks back inside while Mickey just sits on the bin reading the newspaper. Assumedly waiting to see if the TARDIS just appears again. And that's where it ends.
Yeah. So what's your opinion?
So for the story as a whole, I think World War III is a better episode than Aliens of London.
That's the second one, isn't
Yes,
it?
yeah. I think the second part is stronger. I think most of what I said, the weakest part is in terms of balancing the tone and bits being a bit too silly, the overuse of the fart jokes and stuff. All that stuff is in Aliens of London. Now, that's not to say I think Aliens of London is a bad episode, because even though there are some silly bits, some bits that go a bit too far, there are still a lot of lovely character moments. There's lovely character moments between, say, like Rose and Jackie, like actual like tender moments. There's also little moments. The Doctor shushing the Sonic.
Yeah.
The space pig getting shot is a really effective scene. It's sad. It's kind of hard to watch, but the fact that it can make you care
Yeah,
about this not even character.
yeah. That's on there for like what, all of 10-15 seconds.
Yeah. There's so much in the episode that I do think works. I know you're not as much a fan. I like Harriet Jones. As a person. I think her comedic bits are funny. I think she's a very strong character. She's very resilient. Yeah, like I said, I think the main issue is just not knowing when to stop with the fart jokes.
I think that's why I dislike this episode, or these 2 episodes, so much. Because there's so many episodes that are so mediocre and I couldn't care either way. But what I hate about this, I think it's genuinely such a good idea. It was such a brilliant story with the
Wasted
Slitheen.
potential for you.
It's so wasted. That's what, to me, for me, it's like, if you tweak some things, you made the Slitheen scarier. Do you mean? You had a little bit more time with Rose and her mum, or do you mean? Just in general, there's so many things you could tweak in these 2 episodes, and it would change it completely. And I think it would completely, just again, completely change my opinion of the whole.
I don't think you have to play it straight up horror. I know Russell's trying to make his political commentary. He's trying to make fun and have it be kind of silly. I get that, and I think you could do that with how much the Slitheen actors chew the scenery. So when the police officer Slitheen is sticking his tongue out, being a bit weird, when Green is saying like, "Oh, that's no fun," he sounds like I don't know if you remember, he sounds like Spud from Bob the Builder.
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Like I think when he's kind of like hamming it up, when Margaret says, "Who told you that?" Me. I think them acting like buffoons is enough to get his commentary across. I think the minute of non-stop farting is just childish. And that's like, I wouldn't cut the farting in general, because I think it makes sense for their technology, and I think it's quite a good it's a good indicator to give you clues as to who is a Slitheen. And again, like I said earlier, the fact that farting is kind of just obviously not exclusively humans, but it is a human thing. And, it's not like it's like, I don't know. It's not like, oh, they're aliens because they make this weird sci-fi sound. They do something that is inherently human. I like that stuff in theory. It's just playing the farts for laughs as much as they did seemed very easy, and it's not very effective. I think it goes from being silly and campy and fun to just being childish and kind of dumb.
Well, this is the thing. Like, obviously, when the Slitheen fart, they laugh about it. But there is no reason really for them to laugh. If anything, they shouldn't be, because they're just trying to release the gas because they're uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Do you mean if they farted and they were like, God, I hate these suits. When are we going to be out of them?
Yeah, maybe that's the thing. Maybe if
tone.
the farting was in it for the same amount, but instead of them just like cackling about it.
Yeah.
If it was just like, the first time, well, not the first time, but that time the Green does it, and he says like, "Oh, we've got to do something about this." If it was like that,
more, yeah.
So when when he does it the first time, and he says like, "Oh, sorry, upset stomach," and you had to see them more like making excuses for it, then maybe.
Again, it's for something that, they're like, oh, I just need to get out of this suit and whatever. They're obviously uncomfortable, but it doesn't feel that way. It doesn't feel that as a watch, that they're uncomfortable, because they make it so much light of it.
Yeah, they kind of become caricatures.
Yeah, so again, I think it's little things like that. You can completely change the tone of things. They don't have to be completely horror, but if they, again, were more menacing, they're not very, because they're so comedic, and they're basically like the comedy of the episode. Do you mean they don't seem very menacing? And what they've done is menacing. What they've done is very, it's conniving. It's taken a lot of planning, but you don't get that from them. You think, oh, again, they're bumbling, silly creatures,
Yeah.
and it's like, no, they're extremely intelligent, and they've
You
pretty
could
much
you could
successfully
take the
made a
exact
plan,
same creatures with the exact same story, but just change the tone slightly
and it would
and
be
have them be
completely
a lot more intimidating than they are.
Yeah, and I think that's where, for me, it's just an...
Because again, I think the skin suit, like, let's be honest, the idea of sci-fi like aliens or creatures or something taking the form of someone else, like a shapeshifter, is
Yeah.
not really a unique idea. But the actual physical nature of having a skin suit with a zip,
Well,
I think, is very distinctive and very, like, it has the potential to be very terrifying.
Well, this is why, again, as a child with Sarah Jane, I mean, I wouldn't...
I was just thinking, you know how like Moffat does that thing where he takes the everyday things like statues or
Yeah.
shadows, and makes them scary. I just love the thought of this episode having that same thing. So, like, the amount of kids who are then scared of overweight people.
Oh, no.
Oh no, it's a Slitheen.
But no, again, in Sarah Jane, it was, as a child, that was scary. And they're not as over the top and caricature in Sarah Jane.
Until you see the baby one.
But even then, it's so... Even the baby one, it's silly, but it's so... It's so... What's the word? Like, brutal. When you... That scene, again, I love that episode, but that scene where, even though they're a family at the end of the day, and the parents literally, like, crying out, being like, save my child, save my child.
Yeah.
And then you have, like... Do you mean, even then, even when they're so scary and so intimidating, and they're still like jokey and cheeky and,
Yeah.
you know,
They don't
kind of-
lose their entire like self.
no, they seem like it's, for them in that episode, they feel it's more like they're enjoying the hunt. They're playing with their food. Whereas in this, it's just like they're not taking the whole thing seriously.
Yeah, I think that's the problem, is that I guess that because they don't really take Earth and humans that seriously,
No.
that I get why they're kind of like a bit laughy jokey, but at the end of the day, especially once the Doctor starts interfering, I feel like they should be more annoyed by his interference than they
Yeah.
are.
But like I said, it's, you know, other than that, I think it's a brilliant, you know, concept. I enjoy it. I wish we had more Slitheen. I hope we take them down
I really
a scary
wish.
route.
I guess obviously we have Boomtown later on this series,
We
but
do,
I
yes.
do wish at some point the Slitheen would come back. Obviously, I guess the Slitheen as a family can't come back.
No, but
But I wish we had more Raxacoricophalopatorans. Just one more story. Again, I don't need them there like once a series like the Daleks, but it's just like it would be nice to revisit them because I think it's like you said, it's a really interesting concept. I'd like to see that done to its highest potential.
But can you imagine if this story was written for Torchwood instead?
Oh man, that'd be horrible.
It would be horrible.
Yeah.
And I mean that the potential there to make something like that would, but I think it would be so brilliant. I don't like horror. You know that. People who obviously people listening to this won't, but I'm not a fan of horror. I can't deal with it. I'm a scaredy cat. But even I can say, like, there's so much potential there for that. I hope something, you know, brings them back and actually makes...
Do you think the BBC still have the props? Still have the costumes?
Oh, if they did.
In like a wardrobe somewhere?
If they did, they
should.
they're
They
gone.
did for a bit because they came back as always like background stuff.
Yeah.
Because there's in the End of Time, you know, when the Doctor's doing his like farewell tour or whatever, and when he goes to visit Captain Jack in like that space diner, and there's a Slitheen there that walks past. In I think it's the Pandorica opens when the Doctor's like locked in the box, and you see like all the Doctor's like foes working together. I swear there's a Slitheen there somewhere. So they had the costume for a bit that they pulled out for like background stuff.
But bear in mind, like, we're talking, this is a long time ago.
I know, but that's what I mean. Like Pandorica
I'm assuming
opens.
it's some sort of latex or silicone or maybe even rubber. That ain't
Yeah.
gonna last that long. That would have
No.
started to degrade by now. But
Yeah.
but hey, we have
We got Disney budget now.
we've got Disney budget. We've got, again, we have different things now. We have more products we could use for special effects. We could use more CGI, but I'd prefer special effects. But Do you mean we have that now? I think Russell, if you ever listen to this, this is the time. Bring them back.
Bring the Slitheen back.
Bring the Slitheen back.
Yeah. So,
But yeah.
are you still on the side of this is a bad story?
This is very much on the wording. It's not a bad story. It's poorly executed.
Okay. Are these still 2 episodes that you heavily dislike?
Yes.
Okay.
Because they frustrate me.
You're more frustrated by the wasted potential than you are just a bad story for bad story's sake.
Yeah. If it was the same thing but done differently, I think honestly I would love it.
Is watching this more frustrating for you than watching Love and Monsters?
No, because I just genuinely hate that. That's just a hatred. There's okay. For me, there's no redemption.
Okay.
Again, I mean, Love and Monsters there are some things in Love and Monsters that are very cool and interesting concepts, and things that I wish we could explore more. But I think that for me, one thing I struggle with Russell T Davies's era is the tone, and I think and let's be fair, it's a very difficult thing to write for, because with Sarah Jane you can go safe, with Torchwood you can go all out, but Doctor Who, it has to be family, it has to be enough to keep the adults interested and the teens interested, but then it has to be safe enough so it doesn't scare the children. So
I think personally, again, I don't want to go too off topic, but I do think that this is maybe why Chris Chibnall struggled in his era, because Chris Chibnall is not a bad writer per se.
Some of the stuff he's written is very good.
I've not seen Broadchurch, but I've heard it's very, very good.
I think he struggles
the stuff he's written for Torchwood,
minus
some of it is a bit ropey, like Cyberwoman is a bit.
But I think they were struggling. They were struggling in that first couple of episodes about the tone as well.
Yes, they were. But then his episodes, like I think Countryside was a Chris Chibnall episode. Adrift.
Adrift. Jesus.
That is. That's like one of a couple Torchwood episodes you've seen. And
and honestly,
I mean, that's horrifying, isn't it?
That is horrifying.
But that's the thing. But it's
so good.
But it's well written. Yeah. I think he struggled with Doctor Who because I think he's got good ideas. I don't think Chris Chibnall writes humor very well. I don't think he's good with jokes. So I think with Doctor Who, trying to make it a family show, his 2 worst habits, other than not writing more than 1 draft, are just bad jokes in general. I always think of the episode where like the Wi-Fi's down and that family says, I guess we'll have to have a conversation. This is cringe. Or so it's either just bad jokes, bad humor, or it's assuming the audience are all like dumb 5-year-olds that need everything explained to them, and not leaving any room for the audience to work things out for themselves.
But that's the thing.
So I think he doesn't have bad ideas per se.
No, not
I just think he struggles to write for the younger audiences.
Yeah.
I think that's why he struggled with Doctor Who, where he succeeded with a lot of Torchwood.
And that's the thing, personally I think his best episodes are the ones where it's serious. Do you know what I mean? Like Demons of the Punjab is...
I don't think that was him.
Oh.
Just out of curiosity, I'm just going to get Chibnall episodes up. I don't want to go too off topic, but I am curious. Hold on, bear with me. Doctor Who. The amount of time I spend on the Doctor Who wiki, it could put me on a list, I think.
You'd probably be the top 1%, if not more.
Chris Chibnall, The Woman Who Fell to Earth, The Ghost Monument. Rosa was co-written with him and Mallory Blackman. He wrote Arachnids in the UK, The Saranga Conundrum, and The Battle of Ranskarov Kolos. He obviously wrote all of the specials, all the Dalek specials. He also did Spyfall. He co-wrote Fugitive of the Jadoon, Praxius and Can You Hear Me. He wrote Ascension of the Cybermen and the Timeless Children, and obviously all of Flux. Yeah. So most of the episodes that stand out in people's minds, I think, in his era as like good episodes, like Rosa, like Demons of the Punjab, like The Haunting of Via Diodati, Village of the Angels. They were either not written by him or were co-written with someone else.
But either way. But yeah.
I don't want to turn this into like a big hate mob on Chris Chibnall. At least not yet. But yeah, I think in regards to Aliens of London World War 3, I think it's fine. Again, it's not a story like I love it, I can't wait to rewatch it, but I think there's a lot of good moments in it. I think you automatically think negative of it because of the negative connotation with the Slitheen. But if you think of everything that happens in this story, in these 2 episodes that aren't related to the Slitheen, which is a lot of it, because not all of it is Slitheen, there's a good amount of character drama in there. It's all pretty good.
I know, but for me, again, I do enjoy it, and I do love those moments where you just get 2 people talking and you get a bit more out of their characters. But I don't know, for me, I like Doctor Who where it's whimsy and it's easy watching, and it's not, again, it's not
it's not Victory Should Be Naked.
Yeah. And I think that's where we should end.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Well, I guess
Victory should not be naked.
words to live by.
Yes.
Well, I guess that's it for this episode.
Yeah, sorry it's a bit of a long one. Unless,
okay. It's not too
like.
bad. I'm having a look, and right now we're talking just over 2 hours. So bear in mind, we normally do 90 minutes for one episode. Yeah. So we've not like doubled our runtime for 2 episodes. I think that's about fair. But yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you all very much for listening or watching the static background if you're seeing this on YouTube, which you probably are.
Thank you again for your lovely comments.
Yeah.
We've had a couple more, and thank you. We're much appreciated. And
it's really nice when we get to see the comments, because, like I say, most of the time, me and Charlotte tend to just talk like this anyway, even when we're not recording.
Yeah.
And I thought this would just be like a fun thing to kind of document our conversations, and if anyone else listens to this and gets something out of it, then that's pretty cool. But when we actually get comments, we're kind of reminded that there are people listening to it. At least that's like how I think about it.
Yeah.
Because like I said, we had quite a few comments on the first episode, and then not so much on episode 2. And I thought, I wonder if that's the way YouTube works sometimes. But then, yeah, when you get comments come in, especially when it's people you recognize, the same person commenting on multiple videos, and you realize this isn't just someone who stumbled across one video, this is someone who is actively subscribed and is listening to these as they go along.
Thank you for coming back.
That's really nice. So, yeah, thank you for coming back. Thank you for sticking with us throughout all of our tangents and spicy takes and bad jokes.
And we hope you enjoy in future.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So thank you all very much for listening once again. Be sure to drop a like down if you did like it. You can subscribe to keep up to date with everything we're doing. Like I say, we hopefully plan to release episodes like this on a weekly basis. It's normally on a Friday, about 5 p.m. UK time is when I normally schedule them to upload. But yeah.
I'll see you next time for Dalek.
See you next time where we're going to encounter an iconic villain from series past. Ooh. But until then, stay safe. Stay away from what, Shell?
Slickeens.
And we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.